Hello everybody, Haj here. In this video, I'm going to talk a little bit about Maya to Blender round tripping, so taking scenes from Maya and importing them into Blender and vice versa. So let's get into it. So as you can see here, we have our Maya scene from last week to the left, and we have Blender here on the right. So what I'm going to do is just take this scene and I'm going to just go to File, Export All, Option Box. And I'm going to export this out as an FBX. FBX is pretty much industry standard. It works for exporting rigs, geometry, animation, and I use it quite often. It also has great interoperability with Unreal Engine. So sometimes I export OBJs, GLTFs. There's a new format called USD, but for these purposes, just to get something working in Blender, I'm just going to use the defaults, reset settings, FBX export, export all. So now you'll see we're going to get a window here, and I'm just going to put it here on the right and filter right in scene. And you'll see to the right here, we have a couple of options. Let's just export the default. We will see that there is animation is ticked on. And let's just export the default and see what we get inside of Blender. So you'll see that it's unable to export some materials. And we'll go here into Blender, delete our cube, File, Import, FBX. So we'll import our FBX here. Just keep the default settings right here. And you'll see we have our scene inside of Blender. Now you see some of the materials did actually transfer with the default settings. And we actually have our area light. They transferred. We have our backdrop. If we go here and view our Eevee render, you'll see that our scene more or less transferred. Now, if you actually wanted to export everything back into Maya, the same route applies. You can just say if we wanted to add a UV sphere, and scale this down. You can actually just select the UV sphere, go to File, Export, FBX, and you'll see that our same options kind of are here on the right. Want to just use selected objects, we can click that on, and that'll select only the sphere, and click Export FBX, and let's just call this sphere, and export. And then here we can just go to File, Import our sphere, and you'll see that our sphere pops up here. So now, like you can see, if we actually go to our camera view, so let's just maximize this Blender window so we can get a better view of our viewport here. So you can see here that we do have our scene here in Blender now. I have Eevee turned on. If we turn on cycles, you know, the shaders might need some tweaking, the lights might need some tweaking, but more or less our scene is in here. Now, if you actually want to change your camera, because you can see here that we do have camera render cam and our cameras that we imported from Maya. If you look here, we do have this little arrow right here that if you click and hold and drag it out, you're going to get some options here. So if you click here on view, you're going to see right here that we have a local camera. Let's click that on. And here, when you click and drop down, you can see that we have a list of objects from our outline. Now, if you drag with your mouse down, we're going to see here we have our render cam and our render cam 2. Let's select our render cam. And here we have the camera from Maya. Now just select your render cam 2. Again, you see we have our cameras here from Maya. You could fiddle with the settings in FBX to get like a more proper export, but more or less this will generally get your scene from Maya to Blender and vice versa. So now you'll see here, if we zoom out, just using our middle mouse scroll wheel, you can see kind of we have our resolution gate here, similar to what we had in Maya. If we alt drag right now, you see it's going to take us out of the camera view. Press V, which will take us back to our camera view. So now how do we lock this? Say if we did want to change the angle here for this camera, render cam 2. If you click right here, camera to view, what that's going to do is it's going to lock. You'll see this little toggle just switched on right here. You could click camera to view, or you could click here. And what that's going to do is going to lock our camera. So when we alt drag, this is basically our new camera angle. So when we untick this, and now when we alt drag, you can work kind of like in a perspective view as you wish. And then when you go back to your camera view, you see that since camera to view is off, and since this is unlocked, it's not going to bake that camera angle information into your camera. So if we switch here to our render cam, same goes. If we alt click and go back to VV, lock the camera, change our angle, unlock it, that's our new camera angle. Now we can alt drag, work as we wish, and yeah, this is a great way to kind of work with your cameras. VV, and we have that angle back as we want. There's a lot of different formats for 3D. There's OBJ if you just want to export the object. There's USD, which is a newer format that works great in pipelines. There's GOTF, it's a great light format. There's Alembic, which is great for exporting animations and blend shapes and different kinds of models that you kind of want the animation baked into the model. There's STLs, which are great for 3D printing, but OBJs will also work for 3D printing. I would also pay attention to the file size of the formats. Say if you're exporting a lot of objects, OBJ format might be a little bit on the heavier side versus GOTF. USD, which is a newer format, has a much smaller file size. So I'll definitely say, like, if you're concerned about storage space on your computer, your hard drives, what have you, I would pay attention to the file sizes of these formats if you're going to be exporting a lot of different kinds of geometry and rigs. I would say FBX is kind of like the industry standard, especially if you're like exporting to Unreal Engine and you want the rig to be exported as well, or if you're exporting rigs from Blender to Maya or Maya to Blender. I hope this helped. If you have any comments, questions, or suggestions, please leave them down below, and stay tuned for the next video.